Sky Squad, we are back in the building. And I would say that this interview has been a long time coming, but I always believe in timing. And I felt like now is the perfect time to have a conversation with Falynn, who many of us came to know on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. But Falynn is more than just a character that was on our television screen. She's a mother. She has been a wife, going to be a wife. Lots more to come. She's now an author, as we'll get into. But I could go on about that. But I think we'll get into all of that with Falynn herself now that she is here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
That was my like Tamron Hall introduction.
Right. I loved it. I loved it. You took your sweet time. I was like, oh my God, today.
I always feel like I want to make people feel special when they, when they come on. So, you feel good about everything we talk about. I want to first say congratulations because you have a book out and I want to pull it up here and I want to make sure that people know this first thing before we even dive into everything that we got to talk about. The book, Sinless. It is available via Amazon, guys, so you guys can get it. You can get it on your Kindle. I will place a link for it in the description down below. Falynn, tell us in your own words sort of why you wrote this book. And as we were discussing earlier, some of the feedback that you've been getting.
Oh man, the feedback has been crazy. It felt like just, really to write it, I had to open up Pandora's box. When we experience trauma, we tend to either 100% be able to heal from it, those who are lucky, or we compartmentalize. And I did not realize how much of my past trauma that I had actually compartmentalized. So writing this book, it got pretty dark, and it was really difficult for me to stand in my truth, which is the reason as to why I wrote it in the first place, because I've been wanting to tell my story for a very long time. And with given everything that had happened in the media, I think my ex-husband was just the last straw. It wasn't the only reason as to why I wrote the book. It was just that last straw of feeling weak. And it was time for me to stand in my power. And it was time for me to not only speak up for myself, but to speak up for those other women who are not yet strong enough to speak up for themselves.
You talk about trauma. Can you give us, I know we don't want to give away the book, but can you give us just a taste of what was some of the trauma that you experienced? And was it all related to the ex-husband, or was there something that happened previous that we're not privy to?
Yeah, there was a lot previously to what everyone had seen in the media. You see me on a television show, and all of a sudden, that's my entire life. I've never lived anything outside of that. So it was really. Yeah. You talk about an ex, and you're only talking about that one ex, right? But no, it was really about mostly my childhood and my past failed relationships with narcissistic men. How I was raised by a narcissistic parent, and how that traveled into my relationships. And me having to cope with that every single day. But before I finally realized what a narcissist was, I didn't even know what that was until my ex-husband, my recent ex-husband. I had no idea what that was until therapy after him, what I had learned what narcissism was. Yeah. And that's when it kind of just, the floodgates just whammed open, because at that point I'm realizing, holy crap, I have been through a lot of narcissism. But one thing that I've come to learn is that when you're an empath, you experience a lot of narcissism, because narcissistic people, not men, but people love empaths. And I'm very much so an empath. So we're pretty much easy targets.
When is your birthday? Just random.
May 13th.
So you are a Taurus.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm a Cancer. I feel like I'm an empath as well, just because I'm a water sign. So I definitely understand what you were saying. I want to talk about this idea of a narcissist and how to recognize some of the signs. I think I have also had that experience,
Hmm.
and I did not realize it until afterwards.
Right.
And oftentimes, I think it's something that you said, we don't recognize it when we're in it.
Yeah.
What are some red flags that you can sort of warn other women or just anyone in general to look out for when dealing with a narcissist, or at least something that just stuck out in your mind, like, wow, like that really happened, and I fell into that.
I think the biggest one for me is when they try to, or when they do, um, abandon you from your family, when they take you from your family, your closest friends. They really try to isolate you from the outside world, so that they can keep you in that deep dark hole and prey on you, and make you be in this position that it is that they want you to be in.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest for me. And then everything, in the healing process of dealing with narcissism is, it's not an overnight thing, and people tend to beat themselves up about it. It's really not an overnight thing. It takes a while, because what tends to happen is, all these different layers of abuse end up coming back to the forefront. As you're healing, you start remembering certain things, and it's like, whoa, wait, this is what happened, or oh my gosh, I remember when this happened. Oh, that's what that was. Oh, that's what that. You really tend to have a lot of aha moments. And, I really want to say embrace those moments on your healing journey, because it's those aha moments that really truly allow you to heal at a pace that is comfortable for you.
How did you know that now was the right time to write the book? Like,
Mm.
what? Because I mean, I would imagine that as you're going through, you've been through these things, and then now you're in the therapy part of it. What was there a point that said, okay, now is the right time?
Mm. After I gave birth to my daughter, I wanted to do it when I was pregnant with her, and when, everything was in the media and I was receiving all of this backlash for what people did not even know what they were talking about, but it's not their fault. My ex, he put this whole narrative out there. However, one thing a wise person once told me was, you're never supposed to make permanent decisions off of temporary emotions. And I
Mm,
really wanted to make sure that when I did choose to speak up for not only myself, but for other women, that I was playing chess and not checkers. I
mm,
wanted to make sure that I said the right things without being angry. I didn't want to come out and just sound like I'm a bitter ex-wife, because ultimately, regardless of how they saw the relationship, nobody can control me and how I think and how I portray myself and what it is that I do. Only you can't control what other people say or what they do, but you can control how you respond. And the thing about it is, I still had a lot of love for this person. I was going to spend the rest of my life with this person. And then the next day, it's like, that's gone. However, that all those emotions don't necessarily just go away. My love that I had for his children, that doesn't just go away, overnight. So I wasn't just thinking about myself in my moment of solitude.
mm.
But me being pregnant, it allowed me time to really focus on the health and the happiness for my baby, and my pregnancy. It allowed me time to really learn what true solitude is. And that's without social media. I took that long break from social media as well. And it really allowed me to deep dive into my own mind and my own spirit through meditation, which I picked up pretty heavy during that time. So by the time I gave birth and my hormones had gotten back to normal, by that time I was ready to speak up. I was ready to speak up for all of the women that had ever experienced anything I had ever been through, anyone who could relate, anyone who just wanted to relate. It didn't matter, whomever. I just needed to get this out, because one thing, while I was quiet and while I learned so much about myself in that moment, I also learned that, well, let's just say I learned a lot about my throat chakra, which started to, I don't know if you're into chakras, but it really started to tingle and like yank at my throat, what it almost felt like, because I was keeping too silent. Now, now I'm at this point where I'm allowing any and everyone to come in and write my narrative. And I know everybody's like, oh, that was a year ago, that was 2 years ago, whatever. I want every person who has ever experienced any type of trauma to understand and know this. It doesn't matter when, it doesn't matter how, whenever is the right way for you to come out. Sorry, my dogs. For you to come out and speak about your trauma is your business. However you decide to come out with it, there is no right or wrong answer. You have to do what you have to do when you feel it is safe for you to do. And no one can tell you whether that's right or wrong.
I 1000% agree with you on that. You mentioned backlash earlier. Why do you think you received backlash at that point in time?
Well,
And yeah, why? I guess that's why do you think?
well, if you really go back and think about it all, it's kind of fuzzy to me, going back and thinking about it, because I've really chosen a different path from it all. However, when you really go back and think about it, in the beginning, my ex, he came out, he told everybody we were getting a divorce, and in the public, and which we were already, getting ready for me to move out and stuff. But nobody knew about it yet. So when he did come out, he went live and said that I was such a great catch, I was a good wife, and this, that, and the third. A couple months down the road, he would learn that I was dating Jalen. I guess this infuriated him, because that's when he went on another live and stated that I was cheating on him with Jalen. And he ended up calling my previous best friend and told her that if I said anything about his engagement, that he would threaten me with releasing some videos and pictures of Jalen coming in and out of the house. And then he would say that I cheated on him and everyone would believe him. And they did. He was right. They did. Everyone believed him. And I feel like that's why everybody came at me, is because they felt like, it's really, when you really think about it, it's a double standard. It's just one of those things that's just kind of like a double standard. And us women have kind of gotten used to bashing one another for it. But it's like men can cheat, men can do whatever it is, or be engaged to a whole other woman, and do whatever it is that they want. But if we dare do anything in the same realm as them, we're damned for it. We are the most horrible people, we're whores, we're this, we're that. And it's just truly unfair. I don't necessarily live my life by that logic, though. I'm a very much so golden rule type of gal. I'm very old school. However it is that you treat me, I'm going to treat you the same way, if not worse, you know. And that's just, and I'm working on that side of myself. But you know, listen, don't go looking for trouble you ain't gonna find. I say it all the time. Anything you could do, I could do better. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't
Uh,
mean to, but that's what
we
happened.
we have seen a couple of examples of that over the course of the past year. Um, you know, and in real conversation, you know, and I'm just gonna be transparent with people. Like, you know, Fallon and I have had conversations behind the scenes about this, and I'd be like, "Girl, don't respond."
Yes.
But by the time I had seen it, you had already responded. So it would
Right.
be like, you know, and I would only say it because, you know, I just feel like sometimes people can, I don't know that this is what he was doing. I'm just gonna
Right.
say in life,
Right.
sometimes we can be baited into something.
Yeah.
And you know what? It just be like, you hit me on the right time today.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes I look at the comments on my video, it'll be a comment, that's just a random comment. And I'm just not in the mood for it that day. And I'm like, you know, I take my phone, I get the writing, baby. And I'm like,
Mhm.
then I delete it. Because I write it out, I delete it, and I'll be like, you know what?
No, my favorite is the one when I come up with this whole clap back, right? And then I click send and it says it does not allow you to reply. I'm like, oh well, good for you because I'm like, maybe it was a sign from the Lord. I shouldn't have said that. Not today, Satan. Not today.
Listen, I feel you. I totally feel you on that.
Mhm.
Can you, since we talked, I mean, you kind of talked about it just briefly. Can you break down your timeline
Mm.
with Jalen? Because that is your man currently. You know what I'm saying? Can
Mhm.
you I think, and maybe that is why people had some level of confusion at the time.
Right.
So if you could clarify that, I think that it could help a lot of people settle that in their minds.
Right. And that's understandable. I wasn't coming out and saying anything because, you know, someone had tried to tell my narrative. So one thing I also did not want to do is come out and say, no, no, this is what it is. And now I sound like I'm, you know, being defensive and I'm
Right,
trying to
right.
defend myself when I don't feel like I have to defend myself, you know, for anybody. However, the timeline. So Jalen and I were best friends. He was not, let me make this clear. He was not my ex's assistant. He was my best friend turned assistant during the pandemic, and we went into quarantine. He takes care of his very elderly grandmother. His mother is a full-time head nurse, so she's never home. So it was him who moved in with his mother and was helping her with her mom. So during that time it was hard. There were no nurses, you know, coming out to the house to help with the grandmother. And you know, they really needed, she was getting work, but she was traveling at this time. So you know, they needed help in the household. And I said, listen, you know, not to sound condescending, but I told him, I'm like, I'm sitting on money right now for no reason. I just have money. And you need money. You need help. You're my friend. So I'm going to help you. Like, you can be a part of my team. Because I had one assistant, but she wasn't very bright. So, God, she was a pill. But, good Lord. But no, so I was like, listen, I need you on my team. Okay. You're like a genius and I need you. So he became my first assistant after begging and pleading for like 2 months. He finally became my assistant. He would become my first assistant and he handled everything, my finances, I mean, my career, my scheduling, everything. He handled everything in my life. From that point, there was a time, so I started filming for RHOA in August. I'm going to tell you the tea that I just found out off camera.
Oh,
It's too deep, and it comes straight from the horse's mouth that I just found out last week. And that's really going to put this timeline together. However, y'all, I know y'all want to hear it. I know y'all want to hear it. I know y'all want to hear it. I'm going to tell Richie. And because listen, it is real. It is real. So anyway, I started filming RHOA in August. By November-ish, like end of November, early December, my ex and I started having really crazy problems out of nowhere. I mean, we were like the happiest couple. We were that couple who like never got the memo about what do they call it? The honeymoon phase. It was supposed to be a phase. It wasn't a phase. We were madly in love with each other all day, every day. We made everyone sick, right? So we went from that one day to the next day. He's just not there. Like, yes, he's just not in tune with me. And so I'm like, okay, I realize, my life used to be dedicated to him and him only, but now I'm on the show and I'm filming, there's other things going on for just myself. So maybe that's it, right? Okay. Anyway, fast forward, now we're in therapy, yada, 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 trying to fix our marriage. In the very end of our therapy, when we decided to go our separate ways, was in January. He filed for divorce and pretty much gave me an ultimatum and was like, you're either going to fall in line and be who I want you to be, or I'm going to leave. And me being the woman that I am, I wasn't going to say, I'm going to fall in line, but I definitely, in so many words, pretty much fell in line. I was like, you know what? No, let me make this work. Then comes out that girl, Jessica Rabbit, I think they call her, in the media. And it was all over the place where he was out with her and there were pictures. People were sending me stuff in my DMs with this other woman. And she was in his car, his new car that he had just gotten. So I'm just like, what is this? Like, what? Oh, it was a mess. And then after that, I was like, you know what? You want to go? We can go. But we were still in couples therapy. But in therapy, I was just like, whatever, whatever you want to do. But in the very end of it, as I was about to make my decision, my final decision, no more go back. I was really going to make my final decision while we were in therapy in person, because he had been going in and out of town at this time. And he was going out without his ring, like all types of stuff. And as we're in therapy, I break down, hyperventilating. I'm crying. I'm like, there's snot everywhere. I mean, like, I can't breathe. And I tell him, I'm not strong enough anymore. I can't be strong enough. I'm not strong enough. I can't keep doing this by myself. And he smiles. He looks at me and he smiles and he goes, this is the Falynn that I know. And he gave me a hug. And that was the very moment that I decided, you are crazy. I need to leave. You are crazy. It is time for me to go. And God, I cried for days, not cried for days as in like, oh my gosh, no, it was more so cleansing. It was very cleansing because I had finally gotten the answers to my prayers, and that was for me to leave, because I was praying to try to fix my marriage, but it wasn't meant for it to be fixed. Fast forward to last week, all the missing puzzle pieces of my story, I just found out last week, straight from the horse's mouth. I'm going to have to tell you off camera, though. And then now we...
they're going to be mad.
I know y'all going to be mad. I know. But listen, I've been sitting up for the past couple nights like,
Let me ask you this for the people then. Was it something that you should have seen but missed?
Yes. Absolutely. It was right under my nose. Right under my nose. In my house. Yep. but I'll tell you off camera.
Oh my god. Okay. That's we gonna call that too hot for TV tea.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to you and Jalen. When did you and Jalen sort of say, you know what, like obviously you're best friends, you're working together. So
Oh
is
yeah.
was this like a thing where let me ask okay, because I gotta ask this question. You know how like actors on a set, they always say like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. Let's use them as an example.
Well, that's a good example.
Because two people are working so closely together
Hmm.
and you are in extenuating circumstances for them, like filming a movie, um, was this that type of situation? Or looking back, were their feelings there before?
Not in the way that you would think. Jalen and I really looked at each other like brother and sister. And I know it sounds nasty now. Um, Trust us, it took us a minute for us to get used to the dynamic of being in a relationship with one another, coming from a friendship. However, no, not in the way that you think. Everyone who knew us always said that we had such a deep chemistry, but more like brother and sister. Um, but at the very end of it all, when my ex wasn't coming home, and he was just in and out, um, he would say things to Jalen like, "Go get your girlfriend." Oh, hey, you're gonna be with your girlfriend tonight. I'm out. Like, oh, take her out. Go get her, go get her something to wear and go take her out. Like things like that. It was almost as if he was giving me to him, you know. And I don't know if this was just something that he was doing so that he can go, do whatever he was or whatever the case was, but these are things that he would tell Jalen. Eventually, as I'm trying to get over, the news of my newfound self-awareness, if you will, um, and moving on with my life, knowing that I'm not actually going to grow old. Well, not with him because he was already old, but he's gonna grow. I was gonna grow old by myself. I didn't have to say. Oh no, it was wide open, but I had to take it. It was right there. It was right there.
Oh my god.
I had to realize that this was, and that this is the end. And Jalen was just there. He was just there. There was times where I would lock myself in a room, for weeks, and he came every single morning, to feed the kids, to take them to whatever that it was that their activities, anything that he had to do. He took over my role as a parent so that I could grieve. And so that they wouldn't see, which was very big for me. I didn't want them to see me grieving, because meanwhile, I still had my ex's kids as well while I was grieving. I had his kids and my kids while he was gone in
Wow.
Costa Rica and Colombia. Yeah. But yeah, it was just easy. It just happened. Literally, it just happened. And then, you know, I was with my ex for 5 years. And after being with someone of a certain age for so long, a younger thing comes in, it's easy to get pregnant.
Okay. Well, you just answered several questions in one.
Yeah.
And we will leave that situation at that. um how is motherhood with Jalen?
Oh my gosh. So much easier. So much easier. Um, I get to be myself now, and I've never actually had a partner with me raising my children before. So I have my son's fathers. We were teenagers. We were just kids, having kids. So I don't even count those as relationships. I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't even know them really. And then comes along my ex, and he doesn't help me raise them. I was raising his children and my children by myself, and now I'm in this relationship and everything is 50-50. And I never even knew anything about a 50-50, as it pertains to parenthood. I didn't even, this was something that I see in the movies. I actually have a partner. I can say I have a partner, which feels amazing.
That's awesome. He's a good dude. I like him a lot, and I think that everyone ended up where they needed to end up, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a beautiful bow on that story.
Yeah.
As for the next part of your story, would you ever do reality TV again?
Yes.
Knowing what it brings, you would do it again. I mean, you would do a different show, obviously.
Obviously.
What
Yeah.
what would you want it to be?
Um, I'm in the works of something now, so I can't say too much. Yes.
Something's in the works.
Something is in the works, and so I have to keep it on hush hush. But yes.
Okay. Well, when it pops, you definitely gotta come and
I'll
talk
be
to us
back.
about it.
Yeah.
Now that you've gotten the writing bug, I mean, any more books? Anything else that you want to kind of accomplish? I mean, because I feel like you are in a state of like almost like being, I mean, in this more metamorphosis of being able to fly now.
Mm,
And so the opportunities I feel like for you to do and accomplish whatever you want, especially having a supportive partner,
right.
it changes your life. I'm not even like I can only speak from my own experience. It changes your life.
It does.
What do you feel like you want to do next outside of television?
Outside of television and my painting, because I'm an abstract artist, I want to write children's books based off of ADHD, having ADHD, because I have it. I can't function without taking medication every day. Uh,
Really?
yeah, I have a very high percentile, and there are a lot of children, mine included, who suffer from ADD and ADHD, and a lot of parents, they just lack the knowledge, and they don't understand why their children are so rambunctious, or why they don't understand discipline, or why they just won't simply do their classwork, or why they can't make friends. There's a lot that goes into having ADHD, and I feel like these days it's easily looked over because everyone says, "Oh, I got ADD. Oh, I got ADD," and they, just it kind of it dims the light on it, but it really is it's not a disease, it's just a condition. And it's very, oh, Emma's awake. It's very easy to cope with, but there's also different methods to coping with it. And yeah, I think writing children's books so that children can understand that there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And, they're very normal. I'm compelled to write for children's books about ADD. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I always say that we have to follow the vision that God lays out for us. So I cannot wait to see what else you do next. I'll be watching and cheering you on. And I know that you have to get back to mommy duties, but whenever you want to come back and talk to us about the next project that comes out, hopefully soon, you
Yeah.
will have to do that.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for today. And I'm so excited. You guys, make sure that you check out Falynn's book, Sinless. Get it on Amazon right this instant and leave a review. You know what I mean? Those reviews really do help, especially for authors of color. It is so important that we support, our people who are doing amazing things. So I just wanted to reiterate that to everyone. And Falynn, thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate you so
Thank you for having me, Richie. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
much. Great. Always what I like to hear. Skye Squad, listen, we'll have more interviews coming for you this week, and I will catch you guys in the next video.